Are you recording?
Hey YouTube, this is Bryant back again with a new episode on YouFeelMe. And last week we talked about choices. We talked about being in control over those choices, how I believe that God, He's given us permission to take control over our life in that certain area. And by doing so, it really allows Him to come into what He's trying to do and trying to bring out of your life. Certainly is positive. Anything God is centered around is nothing but good. He wants to see you do good. He wants to see you flourish in your life. And I am believing the same thing for all of you. And so I want to continue to travel down that avenue. And this week I want to be talking about being delivered and allowing God to guide you. So the word I want to focus on today is guidance. And when I think about a couple of years back when I was in the process of my separation and on my way to getting divorced, I just remember I was in a state that wasn't really high. I was making a lot of poor choices and decisions. I just basically got tired of living a life that wasn't productive, that really didn't serve me any purpose, of continuing to live. I have a child. She is now 5, and she was also 2, part of the reason why I wanted to turn my life around and start to make something out of my life and want to be able to support her and provide for her. I've learned that, He's continuing to show, my purpose, and I'm continuing to walk into it. I never thought that, to this day, I never thought that I would be doing something like this and getting on YouTube and expressing my dedication and my faith online for people to see. But I believe He's going to continue to take me higher the more I spend time with Him. And so part of which, He delivered me from was, I was a selfish person, and now, I find myself, one of my gifts is giving. I love to give. I love the reaction I get from people when I do give, and it's never a point where I want something in return. It's just the person who I am and God's blessed me to be. I'm a constant student every day, and I'm just continuing to read God's word and just learn so much more. I think about the story in Exodus and how God appointed Moses to deliver the Israelites out of Egypt, out of the captivity of Pharaoh, and how God chose Moses to do such a task. And next week I want to dive further into the life of Moses, but right now I want to talk about the story after the fact, when God had parted the Red Sea and the Israelites crossed over on dry land. And so now God has got the Israelites in the wilderness. And so as God is taking them through the wilderness, what was supposed to have been not even a couple weeks of a journey through the wilderness, God had taken them the long way. It ended up to be a 40-year journey that the Israelites, God promised to take them to the promised land that they didn't even get a chance to witness and behold, because of the constant choices that they was making. And I think about the life that we live and the choices that we make that allow us to get wrapped up in somewhat of a loop, a continuous loop that causes us to continue to do the same things over and over and over. And those choices that we make, if they're not allowing us to become better, they allow us to become stagnant and stay in that position. And so I want to encourage you, if you find yourself just doing the same thing over and over, get yourself around people who are positive, people who you want to see yourself become. I know I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of inspirational videos, a lot of church sermons. Shout out to Pastor Michael Todd, who is lead pastor in Transformation Church in Oklahoma City. He's given me the confidence to want to even get on this YouTube channel and make my own page and try to encourage you guys as much as he's encouraged me. And so I want to return the favor to all. And back to the story with Moses in the book of Exodus. The book of Exodus is basically the story about Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt. And so 40 years is a long time to not have gotten it right, for something not to have clicked. And so for what God had looked for that generation to do, that ended up being basically placed on the following generation. God wanted them to go to the promised land so they can fulfill their purpose, but yet during their time in the wilderness, they spent most of the time complaining and trying to figure out how long this is going to take, and so forth and so on. And so all that had them bound, just as if they were bound back when Pharaoh had them captive. You cannot get to your promise. You cannot fulfill your purpose when you're steady bound. And I know when I was bound, I was suffering from drinking, suffering from my purity, sexual purity. And so once I was loosened from all that, I was able to walk in my purpose. And so I went from, being a lazy person to now I'm fully productive and utilizing my time effectively. Went from being a selfish person to now I'm giving. And so the choices that I made allowed God to guide me. And so now he's basically ushering me into the promised land, into what he has prepared for me, now that I'm allowing him to guide and lead me. And I say, if I was any more blessed, I'd be in heaven right now. Now that I was able to yield to his will and not my will, I no longer leave the burden to carry on my daughter and maybe perhaps her children. I have taken on that responsibility. And so I think of that song Exodus by Donald Lawrence. If you haven't heard that, listen to that. That's an amazing song. And God, he just wants the best for us. He really does. He wants the best of us out of our lives. He wants to continue to bless us. But you can't get to that point unless you see yourself there. And if you see yourself following the God that will answer your prayers, that will lead you to the promised land, he will get you there. You just have to believe and have to have faith in him. And so, like I said, I want to continue to encourage you guys. Please drop a comment if you felt anything in this message that pertained, that resonated in you. And like I said, next week I will be getting into more depth of Moses and his life, and how even though he did all the things that he did, not necessarily pleasing to God, God still used him. He still used him in a way that was able to, like I mentioned, deliver the Israelites out of Egypt. And so if God can use someone like Moses, he can definitely use you. So that brings my episode to an end. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for viewing in. I hope this inspires you, lifts you up in some way. Please share with someone that you feel might need this. Even if you don't feel like they might need it, they might want to listen in. I'll see you guys next week. I love you guys. Till then, take care.